There's often this notion that money solves your problems. Um, it's a prevailing ideology throughout life that you work hard, you get enough money, you're able to live a lifestyle and buy things that basically would afford you a better quality of life. My name is Stephen Jones, and this is my video essay on ideology. So basically, dominant ideology is the belief that a prevailing set of beliefs and values and ideas that are widely accepted and promoted by powerful institutions in society, often shaping how people understand the world and their place within it. And for this presentation, I have chose the movie Citizen Kane um, by Orson Welles to demonstrate how dominant ideology basically influences the way that people view things in the world. And it is very ironic that I would have also um, chosen chose this topic and also been looking at the works of Karl Marx. So basically, in Marxist theory, um, they would have talked about the two classes, basically the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, which is basically the rich people in society and the working class. And this movie directly correlates that because the main character is part of the bourgeoisie and the other characters, most of them are also part of the working class. And on the outskirts, he uses media as a controlling factor. So basically, he owns a printing press, which is the Inquirer, and he is able to basically produce and dictate the narrative of whatever he wants people to think. So throughout the movie, it starts with him as a idealistic young man. Although he has this money, he is looking out for the working class, the working man. He's looking out for all of these guys, and he's trying to basically fight the people. Although he's one of them who has money, he wants to fight the other people, and basically he wants true justice for all. And we see that throughout the film how as he becomes more selfish and he becomes engrossed in his own ideologies and his own belief system, we see that because he owned the means of production, which is what Marxist theory would have been talking about, because he owns these means of production, he is able to dictate. This is what the dominant ideology would have been talking about, that these powerful men in society or these powerful entities in society are able to dictate the narrative. So there's this beautiful scene where basically he is talking to his wife and she says it was something along the lines of what would people think, and she says so there, what would people think? And he finishes the statement by saying, people will think what I want them to think. So basically, he is able to use his means of production and influence over the media and over the mass media to basically propel his narrative. And throughout the film, we see that he is able to use his influence and his narrative to basically influence people, influence decisions, basically influence how people view him, how people look up to him. Um, and it also becomes a point of contention when people actively resist this. So, one of his friends is Jedediah, and he basically is one of the people that works with him in the newspaper in the newspaper company, and their relationship over time becomes strained, and Jedediah begins to talk about the real things in society. So he begins to basically tell the truth and go against his boss. And we see in another scene, another wonderful scene, where he gets so drunk because he didn't want to basically, he had to bring himself to a point of drunkenness to basically write the stuff without like going against his boss. So basically he got so drunk and he began writing a horrible piece about the boss's wife because she wanted to become an opera singer, but she's terrible. So he started to write it and he was like, hey, she's horrible. He doesn't know why people go and see her. She's terrible. None of this ain't making no sense. And basically, gets really drunk. He passes out, and his boss comes, which is Charles Foster Kane, who is the one who owns all the means of production. And he sees basically the article, but it's halfway done. So he takes the article and he begins to basically finish the article. So he continues writing, and there's a third person who also works with them in the newspaper company. And when the guy gets up, he's like, hey, so also he take the article and he's going to change it up and basically exert his influence over the article. And the next guy says, no, he's going to finish the article just like how you started it. So the two of them begin to talk, and then he's like, he begins to talk, and he is like, I'm going to finish the article, but by the way, you're fired. So that is another example of how these wealthy people in society could use their influence to impact people's lives, because anytime you go against these people and according to Marx's theory, there's a ruling class and an economic class. The economic class there's always a struggle with the economic class going against the ruling class. And even when you try to go against the ruling class, they own everything. They own media. They have your job in their hands. So even if you try to fight them, they could just fire you. Obviously, it's a movie and it doesn't go in depth into the rest of the story, but no, that guy would be unemployed, and basically he would be in a worse off position than he was when he was employed. So one of the real examples of this ideology is the Donald Trump situation. And basically, before Donald Trump became president, actually the first time before he became the president, the first time when he was campaigning, there were a lot of groups and individuals, companies coming out to say that basically Donald Trump is a scam and basically he has wronged them. And one of the more prominent ones is when ABC did an interview based on the Taj Mahal, which was Trump Taj Mahal. Basically, he owed the contractors a lot of money. He basically got the building, the uncompleted building, he got it for a very low price because the original contractor couldn't finish. And basically, he hired a bunch of other contractors to finish the job. And basically, when those contractors finished the job, they never got paid. And basically, the casino itself went bankrupt, and he took his business elsewhere. He sold off his controlling interest and basically left those people. And basically, these people always had to run him down for the money. They had to settle, and they had to settle for way less than they were owed. And this ABC is the video, one of the videos, and there are several examples of this because they have done several documentaries on him. Basically, this is him using his power and influence. So basically, again, Donald Trump is one of those people who owns the means of production. So he's using his power and influence to basically dictate how these situations go. Um, and another, this also ties back to the dominant ideology because he is able to use media, and this was before social media. So he was able to use the media and his influence to basically paint himself as the successful businessman who basically is making a lot of money, and he knows business, and he knows how to navigate the business world, and he's so clean cut, and he has all this business acumen and stuff. But behind the scenes, he's basically exploiting the working class citizens. And basically, unless you knew these documentaries, you would not know these things. And now that we have social media, we have YouTube, and we have all of these avenues of getting more information, basically this information is now coming out. And this is the information that basically challenges the dominant ideology. And even now, we still see that Donald Trump still uses media to basically try to paint himself as a good guy and this guy who knows everything. And that was also part of his campaigning strategy, where he was talking about how he made all this money, and he has all this business acumen, and this is what America needs because America is business focused, and he is basically the best because of how he navigated the business world, and people knew him from his media presence. And as we see, they voted him as president twice. So obviously, this was very effective. His campaign strategy, and also the fact that he was able to use the media to basically get himself across to the American public. So, in conclusion, we see that the dominant ideology, even though it was basically, we use the Marxist perspective, and even though Karl Marx came up with that theory many years ago, we could see that even throughout media, being the movie Citizen Kane, and even more recently the Donald Trump elections, we could still see where the bourgeoisie still have this influence and this basically grip on the dominant ideology, and they're able to project this ideology onto the public. And basically, this influences the thinking of the public, the perspective of the public of these figures, and they're able to control the public, control the way that they perceive things through this dominant ideology. Again, my name is Stephen Jones, and thank you very much for listening to my presentation.